What's going on, guys? This is Rome coming at you with another video. A brand new video. You're not going to believe this one. So I actually came across a brand new deck list that I put together with the help of Master Duel Meta. Like, I kind of took a framework or a skeleton of their deck, and then I ended up repurposing it with a few different cards that I think would add more value to this deck. And quick spoiler alert. I totally lied in my other video. I thought I was gonna go with a more familiar deck and just repurpose it with anti-graveyard, just because of the way that the meta is being played right now. Like Snake Eyes is taking over, and came across a way to kind of beat the decks up, or like the way that the meta is, where it's graveyard reliant. Problem is that as I go up in rank with this game, I feel like I feel like the RNG just beats the shit out of me. And I know this sounds like cope, but to give you an example, like like the deck that I'm talking about, I ran two shifters, three fissures, three macrocosmoses, and the way that the generator, like, so I go through like a generator for probability. The probability stated that I should have a 1 in 2 shot of getting an anti-graveyard card, and I even go first on purpose to make sure that Dimension Shifter's live still doesn't work. Like, I still just keep getting like the cards that I absolutely do not need, and it just becomes attrition. Like, I'm literally just playing and just getting shit cards and just having to like outplay in like with the conditions against me, and I was just not dealing with that. So I ended up looking for some inspiration. I ended up finding a card or a deck that's extremely consistent despite the RNG bullshit, because I'm actually running into it now, but I still am able to play around it a little bit better than my other deck, because my other deck had way more cards than 40. So this one is a very strong deck, and so the thing, like I said, graveyard meta, right? This deck actually takes it a step further, and it's like anti special summon. So like the thing is now, for example, like Kashtira doesn't require the graveyard. There's certain decks that are pretty strong still that don't require graveyard, and this deck just shits on all of them because it takes it a step further and stops special summoning, and I love that. Like, I mean, this is just a very annoying deck to play. So without further ado, I will introduce it. Get ready for the drum roll with 1,000 cards being thrown at you, and show you. I have it kind of preset here in this Monarch thing. Stun. Such a scumbag deck, I'm telling you. Like, anybody who plays stun, like, I hate it, but when I tell you, it's crazy. Like, this deck goes first and it's like an instant win. Like, I feel like it's a near guarantee. If you go first, you could win. And then going second, the way that I set this deck up, it's actually like it loses some value going second, but it still can be played going second if you know how to play your cards right. But like, just the fact that you get an insta win going first is huge, because then it really just becomes a coin toss. It's like for sure win going first, may win going second. Pretty awesome. The only weakness I will say about this deck, so like I said, it's literally an anti-special summon deck, but decks that do rely on normal summoning can get around this deck, and it gets extremely annoying. One that I've been seeing, again, RNG, right? I played all of my other decks that since my last video, and I've never once saw a fucking flu player. Now I play this deck, that's all I see, and it's really starting to get annoying. I mean, it's so fucking retarded, but I do have a few cards in this deck that can counter flu, and I will explain that to you as I go through the card list. So now the way that you want to play this deck, so obviously a lot of my other decks were a little aggressive and just relied on, let's say, it's a lot of negates or OTK. This one is literally just a battle of attrition. You just set your cards up, and then they can't play, and then you just beat them until they lose or until they quit, because a lot of times they'll just get annoyed. Like, you'll play your deck, set your cards, and then they're just like, you know what, fuck this shit, because then they real because a lot of times I don't think they realize it. Like, they'll maybe like place a card, like let's say they'll set a card down like in their spell and trap zone, and then you see like a little pause, and then they're like, wait, I can't special summon, what the fuck? And then they'll just quit, and they get very mad. So without further ado, let's dive into it. So we got Jogan to start with. Jogan, only things you need to know about this guy is that it stops all special summoning on the field, and if you have it on the field, you can discard one random card in your hand to the graveyard, and then it will destroy all special summon monsters. It's only 200 attack, however, when it's paired with this Moon Mirror Shield card, it adds a lot of value to this card, because then it's not easily able to be ran over. I'll explain once I get to Moon Mirror Shield. Barrier statue, same deal. Like these four cards even. So like Jogan's 200, 1000, 1000, 1200. They're all very low attack monsters, but adding Moon Mirror Shield to any of these guys make them really difficult to beat over. Barrier statue can't summon anything but water monsters. This other one, light monsters, Fossil Dyna, any of them. But now there's an extra added effect to this card which makes it more valuable than the others. So now, if you set this face down, and if it gets flipped up, it will destroy all special summon monsters on the field. This is big because now if you play your cards right with this, you can strategize. So for example, you can set it face down, and if they attack into you, like this card will die, but all of their special summon monsters will get destroyed. Other thing is if let's say you set this face down and then like a whole turn passes and then it comes to your turn again and you flip it up, still will all get destroyed and you will still be able to keep Fossil Dino on the field. So huge mechanics with this card, so just bear those in mind. Now, Inspector Border, this is the most complicated card you're going to have on your deck. I'm going to try to so, rule of thumb with this card, if you don't want to even memorize the steps and just the important parts of this card, easy rule of thumb is the less variety of cards they have on the field, the more likely Inspector Border won't allow them to activate monster effects. It's that simple. So, like, let's say they have two regular cards on the field, they can't summon monster, or they can't activate monster effects. Now, if they have, let's say, like a regular card, an Xyz, a ritual, and what else? I'm trying to even think. A fusion summon, whatever, like just different styles of cards, they can activate monster effects. This is very important to know because if you don't, you can set this, you can start or summon this card, and then they will still activate things, and you're like, what the fuck? Why is this? And it just gets annoying. So now the more complicated answer, like after I got the easy one out of the way, is that the more monster effects they activate, like so let's say they have three monster effects. I mean, three different types of monsters. Let's say they have like a ritual, fusion, synchro. That's easy, right? They have three of those. That means that they have three monster activations before they can't use anymore. That's really the plain, or that's as easy as I can explain this to you guys. But I mean, obviously, as I'm explaining this, you can kind of read the effect and just kind of run it alongside of my explanation. But that's Inspector Border. Dogmatica, this card, I'm going to explain the package because this card by itself won't really make sense. So now, if you use this card by itself, you could summon it, and then it will give you access to Dogmatica Punishment to your hand, and then you could just set Dogmatica. Now, the whole combo, or the whole, like, package of this is Nadir Servant. You get to send one extra deck card to the graveyard, and then you get to pull Dogmatica to your hand. Now, what's cool about this is that all of these extra deck monsters that I have, all 15 of them, have like a special graveyard effect that you can use as like an adjunct. So like you take Nadir Servant, throw this card to the graveyard, or extra deck cards to the graveyard, you get Dogmatica to your hand, and then now you activate any of these. All of these effects will go live. I'll explain them in a second, or the extra deck and like what's important about them. Now, that's so yeah, Ecclesia, like I said, access to Dogmatica to your hand. Pot of Duality, Extravagance, and Prosperity. You guys all know what these are, but I'll explain them anyway. Pot of Duality, activate the top three cards of your deck. You get a choice of those three, and the other cards just get shuffled back in. Extravagance, if you banish either 3 or 6 random face down cards, meaning like you could banish either 3 or 6. After you banish them, then you get your choice of either 1 draw or 2 draws. 3 gives you 1 draw, 6 gives you 2 draws. Important. I usually always go with 6 because we don't care about our extra deck, honestly. Then Prosperity, you get to choose either 3 or 6 to banish. I always go with 6. You banish 6 cards, then you you excavate 5 cards. After you excavate the 5 cards, let's say 6, because then what'll happen is you'll draw 1, and then the other 5 you put back into the deck in the order that you choose. So if you have like of the 5 cards, you have one that you really want to see the next turn, you pick that one, and then just in from 1 to 5 in the most important to least important of your choice. Time Tearing Morganite. This card is important because so there's 2 reasons why this is important. one, you get to draw 2 every draw phase. That's one thing. Second thing is that you get 2 normal summons. That's important because now let's say you have Inspector Border and Fossil Dyna, you can literally just Inspector Border to start and then Fossil Dyna, 2 normal summons, and now their board is locked. They can't special summon and they can't activate monster effects, and then you probably have won the game. So that's why Morganite's important. There's one extra effect that I haven't really seen any value in yet, but if you, let's say you have one Morganite in the graveyard and then you draw another Morganite, you can actually banish the Morganite, and then the opponent can activate monster effects while you normal summon. I mean, I haven't seen an instance where it's important yet, but it might be, so I thought I would just tell you guys in case. Mirror Shield. What makes all of these cards way more annoying than they already are. So the way that this card works is you attach this card to any monster, and once you do, then anytime it battles, it gains more. So like easy way is just to explain with an example. So if they have like a 2000 attack monster and then you attack them with Jogan, this will bring its attack up to 2100, and then it'll always be over 100 every time. So like you attack, even if let's say you attack like let's say barrier statue is 100. If you attack like let's say a 500 monster, it will bring it down to 510 or 600. Sorry, it'll bring it down to 600, and then they'll always take 100 damage if you're attacking a card. So a lot of times, let's say something like Jogan, where it's super low, it's always going to go up to the attack that the opponent has, or defense that the opponent has. It's very important. Alright, so I'm starting at Clockwork Knight. Sorry, I had to take a brief cut out of the video. So Clockwork Knight, the important part to understand about this card is that all face-up monsters on your side of the field gain 500 attack, while the other side, they lose 500 attack. So that further beefs up these monsters here, just in case, like 1200 becomes 1700, 200 or 2000 becomes 2500, things like that. So that's why this is important. Now, one other important point to note about Clockwork Knight is that this is a really strong counter for Flu, because Flu needs Wing Beast monsters to do their stuff, and being that this is actually it makes everything on the board machine monsters, this is an awesome way to counter them. I've done it before and they kind of got mad at me, and I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, and I was like, oh shit, that's right, sucks for you. Like, I totally forgot. Evenly Matched. This is a card that I added particularly to this deck to make it better. This deck without these evenly matched cards is a little tricky, especially because you don't have very many things to go second with. I mean, you have a little bit of going second potential, but evenly matched is really like, without lack of a better word, evens out the board. I mean, it kind of does, but this is a really strong going second card, and unless they have like an Omni Negate or something really strong, and then even then, if you draw 2 of these, or if you're able to get a hold of 2 of them before you start trying to evenly match them, the first one won't go through, they'll negate it, second one will go through, and then they're screwed. So that's a really important point to note with these cards. And also, I mean, for those who don't know what this card does, at the end of battle phase, if your opponent controls more cards than you do, you can banish all of their cards. So the way that this works is like, if you control no monsters on your field, at the end of battle phase, you can just take this straight from your hand and drop it on the board. And that's what makes it really good, because then now they have to get rid of all of their monsters or all of their cards except for one. So they have to make tough choices. Now, let's say they decide to destroy this card for whatever reason, like, okay, like Resolution Chain 1, and then the other chain is them destroying this card, then they're fucked, because then they have to get rid of all their cards on the board. So that's another important point to note. You can also set this card as a trap, but I mean, most people don't. I mean, you can. Like, I mean, it's not to say you can't do that, but it's commonly used as, like, you have no monsters on your side of the field, you just drop this at end of battle phase, then main 2, you're able to set up your board, because remember, this board is about attrition. So with this board being attrition based, like, not that you're going to knock them out in one turn, or you don't even really need the battle phase. The battle phase is just to kind of beat them up until they either quit or until they run out of life points. But the real point of this deck is control and being able to kind of set all your stuff up so they can't play. So going into Dogmatica, this is another important point to note. I might have mentioned this earlier, but I'll still reiterate. So the package is with Ecclesia is you just nade your servant, throw one of these extra deck cards into the graveyard, get Ecclesia onto your hand, summon Ecclesia, then after you summon Ecclesia, then you get access to this to your hand, the Dogmatica cards. And this is another card that uses the extra deck. So what it is you end up destroying an enemy's monster. So like you end up picking one of these monsters in the extra deck that has more attack than the monster that's being targeted, and then it destroys it. But then you get these additional features where, like, so for example, Entis, like you get like an extra destruction, or you get to pop another card. Big deal. That's a huge deal. Then Fossil, I may as well go into this now. So this is the extra deck. It's literally just Dogmatica fodder and Nadir Servant fodder. So Fossil Machine allows you to banish army or target one spell and trap on the field, destroy. Garura allows you an extra draw, like you just draw one card. Golden Cloud Beast allows you to target a face-up card and return it to the hand. So if something activates while being destroyed, you can just shove it back into their hand. Really important. Either the hand or the extra, because if it's like a synchro summon or fusion summon or whatever, Xyz, it'll just get sent straight back to extra deck. When Pegasus, this one, while it's in the graveyard, you could banish this card, target one opponent or one card your opponent controls, and shuffles it straight into the deck. Another big one. Aggregator allows you to target one face-up card on the field and negate its effects. Now, I want to make a note of this one because this one annoys the shit out of me. So, Aggregator, make sure that when you want to use this card, this monster already has to be established on the board. Just letting you know, because or anything, whatever it is, has to be established on the board. Because I've made this mistake before, where so let's say the guy activates some bullshit effect, like let's say like no cards on the board, he throws down a spell. I try to use Aggregator, like the effect will go through before you can activate Aggregator. So like everything like Resolution Chain, all that shit, Chain Link 1, 2, 3. It'll all resolve. After it resolves, then you get to use this card, so it's too late. So make sure that you understand that this is specifically for a card that's already established on the board that you want to negate after all the other stuff goes through. Because yeah, I've done that maybe twice already, and I'm like, God, I'm an idiot. Why'd I do this? And so just very important to understand that. Tri Brigade, last card in the extra deck. All this does is just gives you access to Garura, because it's a 3500 attack monster, so you can destroy the monster with Dogmatica, and then you just get to throw Garura into the graveyard, and then that'll just allow you to draw a card. So it's just another way to get Garura. So that's, where was I? Oh yeah, so Dogmatica. So that's literally Dogmatica and extra deck, done in like several seconds. Solemn Judgment. So now the thing that makes this deck extremely strong is all the Solemn packages, like Solemn, Judgment, Warning, and Strike, because these cards really are like your last line. Like if you can't like defend or can't respond to something, this is your last line. I mean, I can't tell you times where some guy decided to try to use some bullshit imperm on Fossil Dyna, and I just flipped Solemn Judgment, and I was like, nah, bitch, and just flipped it, and they couldn't do anything. So, but obviously it comes at a cost. It comes at half your life points. So I'll just give you like the Cliff Notes version of all these cards. So important thing to know for Solemn is that this is your trap negate. Like anytime they activate a spell or trap, this is extremely important. And also when a monster's summoned, but I mainly use it for traps because these other guys, it's in some way, shape, or form deal with summons. So like for example, Solemn Warning, when a monster is summoned, you can use Solemn Warning. Or if they use like a spell or trap card or monster effect that includes a special summon, then you can use this card. Solemn Strike is just straight up a monster effect. So like, I mean, a special summon or a monster effect, but I use Solemn mainly for monster effects that go off because it's a negate destroy. So like things like, let's say, a Rise Heart, where they're constantly using they just constantly, if it's an automatic effect, you just use this, you could just destroy a Rise Heart straight away. So that's why this is important. Very powerful card. So just to recap, Spell and Trap is when I use this mainly. Summon is when I use this one mainly, and then Strike is usually when a monster effect goes. And then now going into Crackdown, this card is also strong because now if you can literally just take and pull a card and then just hold it hostage essentially on your side of the field. So like I actually did this once with one play where this person had an Appaloosa. I just tried to pull the Appaloosa to the other side, and they had like 30 something hundred. It was like 30 something hundred attack, and now the enemy has to attack into that, and they couldn't do it. So it's nice to either stop them or not giving them access to their monster effect that's on their side of the field by pulling it onto your side of the field, or just literally having an extra big body on your side of the field just to kind of hold on to, like, okay, well, this guy's going to attack me. Let me just pull one of his guys over so that way they can't attack effectively. And that's it. Those are all the cards. So yeah, like I said, this deck is really oppressive, annoying, and borderline bullshit. Like, this is like the easiest way to gain wins. It's a very easy win deck, really powerful to. I'm telling you, like, it's a battle of attrition. You're gonna win this attrition so long as the game goes on. It's a very powerful deck. I mean, and it's really easy wins. Like I said, it's very brain dead. There's not very many combos. There's not very many mechanics to understand. It's just put all these cards on the field, they can play, you win. And then, like, and also this is another thing to note, like, kind of like a closing statement, is with this deck, make sure that you understand that this deck is intended to go first, and like if you go first you win like 90% of the time. If you go second, it's really a coin toss, but it's okay because really you're playing this for the long game. Like, you're playing, like, out of all the games you play with this deck, like, you're gonna constantly climb. Like, the general consensus is you're just gonna continue to go up. So just bear that in mind. So don't get discouraged if you lose, because chances are over time you're just gonna keep winning. So if you stay consistent with this deck, you will win, and it's just complete. I'm telling you, it's cheating. Like, this deck shouldn't even be allowed in this game, and you're gonna see why if you actually get to play this for yourself and see what you can do with it. So with that said, I'm gonna go into start climbing, and I'm just gonna show you guys like some of the crazy interactions that could be done like through my gameplay and my speeches. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of this deck profile, and I will see you guys in the next videos.